Hello, Internet. Welcome to episode number 274 of the Comic Watchers Show. We are glad to be here. We hope you're glad to be listening to us. We are here today with creators Carlos Yacolca and Alberto Rayo, who are going to talk about their comic Before We Sail. So, gentlemen, first and foremost, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much to
you guys
both
are
of you.
coming to us. Yeah. You guys are coming to us from all the way in Peru, is that correct?
Yeah, exactly.
That's
from the other part of the Americas.
Hey,
the better part.
We love it when we get
the better part. The better part.
We love it. So, tell us. So before we get into Before We Sail, tell us a little bit about yourselves. Tell us about your comics journey and what brought you to where you are today as creators.
Okay, so, well, Rayo, you start or I start?
You start.
Okay, well, I think first of all, my journey with the comics starts when I had like 9 years old, 10 years old, is when I bought the comic of Iron Man by Matt Fraction. Really?
Yes.
They were published in Peru at the moment, and well, I buy it, and it was the first arc of the World's Most Wanted, and I opened it, and I was like, okay, why Iron Man is broke? Why is the Norman Osborn is with the Avengers? Why the Avengers are evil? What the fuck is happening? So, see, because a lot of shit was happening there, but it was a good run. So a few years later, I started my virtual comic store, in which I read a lot of comics. I go deep with the comic genre, with the comic art, also with comic journalism, and then it was around that time that I made contact with Rayo, because Rayo was publishing on heavy metal. It was around 2019, I think. And then, well, in 2023, we, with the virtual store, closing, I was like, ready to make another challenge. And then Rayo was there, and we make a comic. We pitched it to David Lloyd, and I was like, okay, I have to go to 0 to 100 as soon as possible. And 2 years later, I am here. So I don't know if I made it to 100, maybe to 50, but well, I hope that Before We Sell is great. Could be great, or could be enjoyable at least.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think about that?
Doing it, right? Like, even if you're the only person that cares and the only person that is finding pleasure from this, you're still doing it. And clearly, there's people out there reading your stuff, so that's not the case. But yeah, that's highly admirable. So
thank you so much.
Yeah, Alberto, how about you?
Okay, so writing. I started writing a bit before reading comics. When I was a kid, I used to read like a lot of manga. Then I started reading the classics, the Latin American classics, which is like, imagine you are getting to read, I don't know, Fitzgerald, Carver, your classics. Well, I used to read the Latin American boom people, Vargas Llosa, Cortázar, Borges. Borges not, but yeah. And I started reading comics after I went out of school, I think. I read Marvel stuff, DC stuff, Image stuff, Dark Horse. I started to explore European comics, a lot of Tintin, when Tantan I say, yes. Uh, every kind of comic I could get, but the one that inspired me to make my own comics was Mako. She's an Uruguayan cartoonist who she plays a lot with the language of panels and storytelling. At this point, I don't think there's no one that has made it like her. I mean, she has quitted already making that panel work to make more, how do you say it, familiar storytelling. But I think she's one of the best. So yeah, I started drawing my own comics, and I think everyone should try that actually. Not just making tiny, how do you call it, doodles or storyboarding to nail it. No, everyone should try to at least actually draw them, even if they look ugly. I think it will make a better expression of what you want to do than have someone else make it. Well, okay. Still about my journey. Well, then I started making them, drawing them myself, and I gave it to an artist, uh, and they say, "Hey, this is a good story. Let me draw it." It was already drawn, but he thought it was a thumbnail, so yeah, he drew it again, and that's how I started writing comics. And I've been writing comics for a while, for anthologies, now a few short middle grade graphic novels, that stuff, and I'm currently still writing comics, a few web comics, and a video game that I'm working right now.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Chad, why don't you jump in?
So as we jump into before we sell, kind of give us the overview of the story and the inspiration behind it.
Well, first of all, before we sell in a weekly, okay, it's made by David Lloyd, obviously. Okay, so before we sell is as a writer is like a one shot of presentation of a declaration of intention. So with that in mind, we were like, este, I am going to make these short comics to present some ideas, some things that I am going to develop later. Some seeds are very clear, some are not. But este, but I think comics like bodies of work, and that art also like ways of communication. So I know that my later work will be in constant communication with this one shot. So that's what it is. And about the themes, we have all this typical zombie story with an exotic landscape because it's in Peru, and also with the very like treatment of the mental aspect, like a psychological aspect, like a David Foster Wallace aspect, like a very deep thing. And I hope that I achieve that in some way. But well, Rayo will take the more technical in a way.
So, Carlos, you're the writer. Alberto, why don't, if you would, break down what your role is in Before We Sail.
Editor, basically. I mean, the main editor. Oh, okay, that's me. Okay. The main editor and publisher of the story is David Lloyd, as we spoke. But I was before before we say even existed, it was an idea, and it was the main idea was about making zombies and having it be in Lima, not in Lima exactly, but having it should be a story in the sea. in ships. It will be a bit more swashbuckling pirate story with zombies at the beginning. I think remain close to that. But before there was a script, I was there with Carlos, developing the characters, developing the plot, developing with Michelle how it should look like, and all that else. So my role as an editor, it wasn't like your your editor from the publisher. If not, I was the script consultant. I was there to help develop the story. I was like, hey, this doesn't work really. This should be this character is a bit redundant. This character should have a bit few more elements. It lacks that. It lacks that. It needs this. All that stuff. So I
Ye-
was working with Carlos and then with Michelle and Diego, who is the letterer. Uh, I was not the editor that works as a project manager because in that case, Carlos did everything. Carlos was the project manager. He was the one who joined everyone, who was like doing this needs to be done now that we have finished the script. It must be now to the artist, now to the letterer. Now I was there for the script consultant. I was reviewing the dialogues. I was going for mostly the story and a few of the storytelling also, because Michelle is experienced and she has made a great work there, I think.
Yeah. Well, unluckily, he was only focused on editing me because, well, Rayo made all his effort in that. He was like, you have to get even better every time. And I, and I was like, sending 4 or 5 pages to Rayo, and he sent them back with 40, 30 points that I had to fix. And that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 times. And I was like, okay, I have to get better. I have to make this. I have to fix this. And I had to fix this and also make them work. So yeah, it was a very tough process, but I really like that as him having it as a boss really that I had to achieve.
So in the story, who are the characters, protagonists, antagonists that you follow as you're telling the story?
Well, okay, so well, first of all, we are going to go with a little of spoilers here. Are you prepared with that? Okay,
That's fine.
so okay. So 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 our main characters are first Jonathan and Kat. They are like the duo protagonist. Jonathan is a person that is like outside of everything. He wants to analyze what he can achieve in this dead world. For what he can fight. He has he wants to have a meaning. When nothing can grow. Basically. And Kat is the more driving character. Este, the most straight to the plot, because all his background that, well, if you are right now reading, we are in the chapter 4, so you already maybe know his background a little part. But yeah, these are our main two characters. And for the enemies, well, the enemies is all the world. Like my concept was that all around is dead and all around wants to kill you. So what you can grow in this kind of alert, in this kind of constant stress of that, in this like is when you can have any second of call.
Okay.
One of our comments says, "It sounds like my
Yeah.
life. My enemy is the entire world."
I always told Carlos that every story, or well, every good story at least, is two stories. The one that you, the one that happens, the one that you tell to people straightforward, the one you pitch, the one that has the tagline, and the other one is the below story, the one that just the reader gets. It's not publicized, it's not, there's no merch about it, it's not in the advertising, it's the one that is between the writer, the authors, and the readers. For example, I always give this example, which is Jurassic Park. Funny, fun movie about dinosaurs in a park and all that firework and visiting a great new place. But the below story is the about the pride of the man and how that pride gets you blind and well everyone's dead. So how's that your downfall? In this case, the same. We have the above story, the one that we publicize, which is pirate story, no, zombie story in Peru, very South American, very how do you call it, with a lot of cipher elements. And the below story is the one that we is between Carlos and the reader, which is how do you remain sane? How do you soothe yourself? How do you get therapy? How do you get medicine? How do you not get worse in your mental health during the apocalypse?
Right. So, in the face of the apocalypse, like, how do you keep your sanity?
Yeah, that is the hard part.
That's the hard part, right?
Please
Yeah.
let us know. We live in the United States, so we're close.
Yeah, we're
I shouldn't laugh, but well, yeah, it's like it's the constant feeling of like the comic assorted it's a crisis events. It's the right now it's the that is published it's the tennis camp. It's like things are wrong, but it's we couldn't fix them. So how we keep still living on that, and that constant of the problems and emotions that are and a thing like that is like keep us like consuming inside really like we have to pay the debts we have to keep working we have to making all fast because the world is changing so fast so yeah that that's something I want to really express there in some way.
yeah.
So the story is being published by Aces Weekly. How did you come to into that format rather than just releasing it as a single issue or a complete story?
Right, because Aces Weekly is digital only, so that's a very different world than print publication.
Yeah, it's a little difficult when I starting like searching for a clear path because first it's a virtual comic, second is an horizontal yeah horizontal comic, and third
Landscape comic.
well it's a landscape comic, and third it has these vibes of 2000 AD of heavy metal that that are basically like you have to tell a story on only 4 pages, 5 pages, go, and that is hard. It's because I have
It's
to combine all these elements into one way of tell one story. It's because I can tell one episodic imprint, I can tell one virtual imprint. I can tell one is a landscape imprint, but altogether there's only Ace Weekly. So how I like understand it to make this in a very it's a good way. And that was a lot of searching. That was a lot of searching. That was a lot of analyzing. It's 2008 AD. That was a lot of searching, a lot of Ace Weekly, comics also, reading Peter Milligan, reading the very obscure comics of Peter Milligan from the 80s, from the 90s. I keep I even read some newspaper comics that Peter Milligan made, and then I read also the way of Christopher Price made his comics also because he is very episodical in a way, and all of this like combined in a way of okay, I have to make this work, and I think that I make this only work on the last chapters really on the 5, 6, 7. Because I was starting like okay, making my first works, but also in a way one of my intentions was that every chapter feel like a music genre, and I feel like I only achieved that in the sixth and the seventh chapter, because the sixth chapter is for me is free jazz, and the seventh chapter is post rock. That that is not out yet, but I could tell that it has like this Godspeed You Black Emperor kind of music, like like a big song of 30, 40 minutes that is not with a lot of voice. It has a different kind of sounds, and that it has a long violin that is making wall of sound. So yeah, that's yeah. I'm a crazy guy. For music and also for comics. These are my only two arts that I regularly check. So yeah, that's it.
Well,
I want to integrate that.
I think it's interesting though that you likened your story to a song, because I don't think I've ever heard that analogy used before to describe a comic. But there's definite similarities there.
Yeah, it's because of the beat and of the reading and of the how you maintain this like pacing. It's because when the comics have a very good pacing, it could transmit some feelings. For example, when I read Estero of Alex Scott in the issue 13, 14, there is a big fight, uh, a bit as a martial arts fight, and it was like when I finished reading that fight, I was like, because that was very well done. And also, when I read The Fleet by Grant Morrison, my head hurt, because Grant Morrison made this comic out of angry, and you can feel that in their pacing, in their ideas, in their meaning, and that's why I like. Okay, I like that. I want to try to make that in a way. Well, yeah, there's too much ideas. I'm sorry. I'm too
No,
metaphoric.
that's great. There's a ton of ideas. Ideas are what these things are.
Processing.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Alberto, as the editor, how do you rein all of these ideas in and help Carlos tell a cohesive story?
Badly. No, just kidding. So it was important to as much ideas you have, as much intentions you have with your story, it must be a story first. There can be great ideas behind an author, but you can make this and disservice of these ideas with a poorly written story. It might have the reader actually rejecting those ideas because they were told in a wrong way or not efficiently. So in this case, it was important to have the bare bones of the story and keep adding until it was done. Uh, I I make this analogy with how do you call this Japanese plant, which is a little tree?
It's a bonsai?
With bonsai. The art of bonsai is the art of extracting. You have the bonsai, and you keep cutting off, cutting off, cutting off until you have a shape. You don't add to the bonsai, you extract. And that's the part of self-editing and editing actually that is important. You have to take the stuff that is not it's not I don't like to work the don't like to use the word necessary because I don't feel that necessity is what one must strive, one must seek in art. I think it's clarity and brevity. So the ideas has to be condensed. You have to have a clear theme, a clear message on what you want to tell your readers, and have to sacrifice everything else. So yes, I think that's also a basis on high fine cooking. I think on high fine gastronomy, where do you have this tiny place where people like to make fun of, oh, how why should I pay so much for a little food, a little plate with one tiny piece of meat, one tiny piece of I don't know, of vegetables, when I can have a gourmet here and an all you can eat by for $5. Well, you can't treat art like that. You shouldn't make art as if you are going to make a big pot of something for a gourmet. You have to make art as that tiny plate that you're going to get for someone, and that's everything they're going to enjoy. Don't focus on quantity, but in clarity. I think, focus on quantity is like a bit of careerism. I don't know if I said it well. People are very excited I'm going to make a lot of comics. I'm going to have my saga of 8 volumes, 9 volumes. I will make, yeah. And that's not important. A short story, a one shot, uh, before we said, which is actually very short, is a condensed story that is basically a myth of what Carlos wants to tell and wants to do.
Yeah, well, if I can add something, first of all, yeah, Godspeed, you Black Emperor, mentioned it, like, the people on YouTube, say, and well, a shout out to all the people to Rayo Music and well, album of the year, all the my music head. So well, yeah, because also with the music happened that I don't want to make singles. I want to make an album. I want to take the time to make a body of work to make them the most perfect one. Because well, let's be real. With all the comics that come out all this time, all these months, all these weeks, that someone have the time to read your comic is very valuable. So before we sell can be read in like less than an hour, but it's punched really hard. And my intention was that okay, I want to make this short comic. I want to present myself, and I want to make this like like to stay there. And when I take my time to make my next comic, this will be there. and this will stay. So yeah, that was the basic samples. And also, with Alberto Rayo also commenting on the substance and also all the styles, I remember a long time ago when we were just starting, Rayo told me there are only few comics that integrate start and substance very well. For example, one of them could be Peter canon Thunderbolt. That it was a great story. It was a perfect response to Watchmen, and it have a very taste of style. So, but those comics take time to make because they take time to think. So that is my aim. I want to make that. I want to make albums. I don't want to make singles.
Mhm.
So yeah.
So, how many chapters is Before We Sail? I know, how many are currently have been published, and how long is the the story itself or the album?
Oh, the album. Well, this album is had 7 tracks, and right now we are on the 4th track. So each track will release weekly. So we have 3 weeks left. So if you as the viewer are not yet reading Before We Sell, well, what are you waiting for? Go read Before We Sell in Aces Weekly. It's edited by David Lloyd. What are you thinking? So yeah, well, it's 7 chapters, and it's very short, really. It will summarize a comic of 44 pages, but are in landscape also. So we make a lot of panels, make a lot of text, make a lot of readings, and it's a very used comic.
Now we had a comment here, and I'll let you read it, and then if you want to, if you can answer that question, I think that's an interesting question because you talk about how music and the comic book are alike. So, and the questions about what would you listen to as you're reading the story.
Well, first of all, I don't listen to playlists because I'm a person of albums, really. So yeah, and that is the good way of listening to music. And well, it's but well, when I was writing it, I was listening to a lot of gospel, a lot of also swans, a lot of free jazz, also a lot of Japanese jazz, a lot of Kendrick Lamar, a lot of hip hop, jazz hip hop, and some rock also, some pure rock, for example, we recently have a big UK scene. We have Black Midi. We have Black Country New Roads, and those are really great post punk bands. You have to check them. So yeah, those are my choices really.
Okay.
Okay.
There you go.
Now, Carlos, this is your first writing, correct? What so far have you? What's the biggest thing that you've learned in this process?
Well, the first of all is that I don't know if it was during the process or before the process because I was just getting off my psychology and my psychiatrist. Like I am good right now, but I had to kill my ego. I have to accept the changes. I have to accept all the proposals. I have to understand that Rayo and Lloyd know more than me, and that I have to get better. I had to maintain this like like this running. Because I think comics as a marathon. So I had like, okay, I have to accept these changes, and also I have to think how these changes could work well in this comic. And by doing that, I have to kill my ego. I don't have to think, no, this will affect my plans, or this will make change a lot of my ideas for this comic, blah, blah, blah. Like, well, you are starting. You have to accept them. And you have to kill your darlings, like Alberto Rayo said. So yeah, you have to make them. So it was a process of being humble and kill your ego and understand that you have to work. And yeah, yeah, that's it. You have to kill your ego. That's it.
And Alberto, was there anything that, being more experienced, that maybe you've learned from working with Carlos, being new to, this whole process?
Yes, I think it's important to have a clear understanding of what you want to do. I like a lot his drive to make this comic work, his project management, and also how he's selling it. He's advertising it a lot, and there were a lot of plans before the comic even started, and I like that a lot. There's a clear view of on how things should be, and that view that view can change, but it can't be a different altogether. You can go north and you can like go a little there, but uh, you don't go back. That you have to keep working on it. This was a very long project that started on practically nothing. Uh, it started before there was even talks with David Lloyd, right?
Yeah,
So that wasn't
two
like
2 months ago
he got
of that.
he didn't got an opportunity and make the comic for that. The comic was going to be made, and then the conversations with David Lloyd started. So there was a lot of drive, and I think like a lot of new artists, new creators can learn from that.
Yeah, and also, well, if I can add something, is that when I think of how I am going to put this comic on the map, I was always thinking on the comic as a journalist side, because I, as a music as a journalist, as a lover, I also love as a comic as a journalism, and I know that well, as the more people that read comics should read also as a comic as a journalist. So in a way, I want to spread that. Like, okay, you are in, I don't know, as a Facebook groups, well, you can also read as a comic, as a journalism, as a comic, as a reviews, as a comic investigations and things like that. So that was also my point in that. I want to send some reviewers as my comic and see if they like it or not. But if you don't like it, so tell me. How is the argumentation of that? I want to find the Anthony Fantano of the comics. Okay, no. But the thing is that I very like that. I want to read that really. So yeah.
How do you respond to criticism, or do you do you take that as something to work into, future stuff, or just take it as a criticism and then keep going your own way, I guess?
Well, it depends. Firstly, because when I think because I was also making some comics and some reviews in my Facebook some time ago, some long time ago. That when you make an opinion, you have to make an argument of why you think that way, and also you have to separate your likes from your analysis. For example, there are some comics that I really like, but I understand that they are not perfect. And there are also some comics that I think that they are really good, but maybe I read them when I was sick and I wasn't paying all the attention and I wasn't like experience all the moments of that comic. So with that in mind, when I read a review, I want to see the argument, how you make this argument work. How did I like you? They don't like you? Did it feel meh? And also, if you have from 0 to 10, I expect that you use all these all these numbers. For example, when when Anthony Fantano put Astro War a 7, are like people like, no, this is a 8 or a 9, and I was like, well, there are albums better that there are albums better than Astro War. Yes, there are. That's why it's a 7. So yeah, that is my logic also. That if you have the 0 to 10, use all the numbers, and also make a good argument for your criticism. And and if I read a good argument, I was like, okay, I don't see that part, or I don't see this vision, I don't see this opinion. It's because if I'm going to make a comic telling my ideas, my experience, and my thinkings as a Peruvian person, knowing that people from around the world will read it, I have to understand that all those people have different experience, have different ideas, have different ways of interpret reality. And so on good, and so aren't. So yeah, like, okay, what's your take? But how are you making this take? So just that's it.
So one thing we haven't discussed so far about Before We Sail is the actual art. Can you tell us about the artists?
Well, Michelino is a beast. Is a masterful in what she done. It's because she also has to go to 0 to 100
Mhm.
because she left comics 6 years ago at the time that we bring her back from the dead. Like she didn't make comics like for a long time because her last comic was one that did with Alberto Rayo for a Kickstarter comic on 2018, I think, and then she doesn't date more. So, when she came back to this chaotic art, she, as I said, how to go from 0 to 100, and I think that she masterfully done that. But because from chapter 1 to chapter 7, there's a wild change. And also, I could say that if you are reading it all on chapter 4 right now, be prepared because chapter 5, 6, and 7 will have some like big changes on the art, and that also with like repercute in the way that the story is told. So yeah, big shout out to Michelle, and yeah, I am very happy that I'm working with her. Really.
Yeah.
And Alberto, do you also kind of help with the art direction?
Mostly with the art storytelling, the fact that it could be understood well. Landscape comics were new to her, so I introduced her to the how, how's that publisher called? The one from Brian K. Vaughan.
Panel Syndicate, I think.
Panel. Syndicate, yes. There was a lot of experimenting with the art. How would it look? The world building elements also. I remember we went to a bookstore called Comunitas, so we could like read a few books, and we liked the Joel Jones in the book that she had before entering DC. I think it was Head's Wives, I think. It was a crime book,
Yeah, it was a
and it
crime.
had this pretty almost flat-like coloring. So we decided for that for before we sail. We also had well, there was a lot of experimenting. Where there was a lot reviewing. I got to read the thumbnails, and I was like, make a change here, or have these panels a bit more separated, because when you have landscape pages, sometimes the storytelling can tell you to go down instead of go left, go right. I mean, when you're reading, and we have to be careful of that. So yeah, I was there reviewing the art, most likely the storytelling. Oh, it's mute.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. One of my dogs is eating over here, and I didn't want you to catch that noise. Um, so, Alberto, when it comes to art direction, how how different is it to plan for digital versus page? Because the digital realm, it acts completely differently than the page does, and it allows a lot more freedoms and opportunities to do something you can't do on a printed page. So, how do you, as an editor, support your artists and to bring their best self to that to digital?
Well, in this case, we have worked like it. We almost already know when we are making something for any comic, we are also making it for digital. There are a few comics that aren't in digital, that are published right now in digital. Even if it comes in with Kickstarters, with indie comics, it's also in digital. So we didn't pay that much attention in trying to innovate. We didn't ask for some stuff to be a GIF or have strange colors or anything. Because there are a lot of ways to innovate in digital. But this one being Carlos' first comic, I always pushed for being as straightforward as possible. So the experimentation, begrudgingly, I I was like pushing. Let's not experiment that much.
Exactly.
So
Right,
yes,
not the first time out.
the first time you have to. Well, I don't like to call them rules. I like to call them principles. You have to know the principles of storytelling, so you will be able to eventually break them. So yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I couldn't go too crazy, but yeah, that's that's something that I had to understand.
It, is going crazy going to be your next project?
Well, in a way, I will always wanted to go crazy, but it will depend of the objective, of the themes, and of the ideas. I already know what will be my next comics, but for this one that I will make now, when I take my time and I work and I make money and then I pay my artist, this comic will be very interesting in a way. I already had it in my mind, and I also started trying, but I couldn't say too much because I don't know when will be out. So yeah, but yes, I will be go crazy. I will be go crazy. That's
All right, I'm waiting for
yeah. Expect the unexpected. Okay.
it.
So, looking at the larger picture, what is the comics books uh, culture scene down in South America? Are there a lot of indie artists? Is there, do you guys network or?
Well, right now in Latin America in general, the ones that have the most strong fan base or the most strong like community would be Argentina, and that will be followed by Chile, I think. Well, este Rayo este knows more. But here in Peru, we just feel like I feel like we had like a new wave since 2 years ago, really, because there are a lot of new comics coming out. For example, you have Gustavo Vargas that is living right now in the UK and that is making a lot of excellent work. Shout out to Gustavo. But we have also talent, well, Peruvian talent that is working for Marvel, DC, and Spawn, but there are artists, there are no writers. So we are trying to fix that right now, me and Ryan. So yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
There's
you.
this,
Yeah,
there's this.
this
Oh,
man
let us be in
worked
place
on
in the
Webtoons
industry. I hate that.
some years ago, and he should be more like, yeah, I make that. But he's so humble.
Yes,
Like that's why I his
You hear
promoter
that?
in some way.
You hear that, Alberto? You need to be less humble.
Yeah, you need to be
Brag,
less
you
humble.
need to brag on yourself a little more.
there's this like attitude in trying comics as a rat race on who gets first to Marvel to DC, and
Yeah,
it's not about that. It's
it's
about
not
being
healthy that way.
it's about focusing on enjoying the process, and of course it's important to think like commercially too, but there has to be a certain degree of, I don't know if the word is proud. This pride is like, I think there are few people that only consider them the artists, like they made it when they had their 6 pages on a Marvel annual for, how do you call them? These annuals, those Marvel voices, where
Yeah,
they get
Marvel voices.
people
Yep.
from everywhere so they can have yes, we make one shot with artists that we will never hire again because they are not again in the books. So I think we have to strive more to publishing own stories, to make a difficult work that is not as easy to sell, especially in these times when there's a lot of AI, a lot of sequelitis, a lot of uh,
Franchise.
commercial thinking. There must be difficult, unmarketable work that won't be able to be copied, that will be generated by AI. I think that's so. Yeah, I maybe a few times years ago I was like, yes, I have to get in the industry. I have to get in Marvel. This no. So right now I'm really against of careerism. I like to think we have to enjoy more the process and a strive to be read, not to be hired.
I like
Yeah,
that.
that was also why we take like 3 times instead making this. No, well, it's 3 years making this because we want. First of all, it's a comic. It's making good comics. It's making hard comics. If you make comic fast, because you want to get higher or to go faster, you won't make it. You have to take care of the craft first of all. And with that, things will happen slowly, but will happen.
Yeah.
And I
For
was
my
with that in mind. I have to make things good. I have to make things good. I don't know how much time I will make this, but I will have to make things good. So yeah,
there are a lot of talk in with young comic creators, from all the comic creators. They don't ask how to be better. They ask how do I get in the industry? How do I get in? How do I pitch my Spider-Man gets married story? Uh, and it's a bit of showing of what's the mentality. Uh, there, and there's a lot of people that focus on giving uh, uh, advice on how to get networking, how to sell yourself better, and there are few there are less interest in how to write better, how to draw better. I see that there is. I don't want to deny that there is interest in learning your craft. There are good schools. There's the cover school that there are a lot of great professionals there. But when you seek on the internet, everyone's on the rat race to get in, and it's it can be a bit toxic, I think. And they will be
Yeah.
disappointed, most importantly, because there is no in. You make comics are in. You are already in already. Do you
Right.
want to get paid? You want to be disappointed when you get to see how the sausages are made. The story is already revealed. They will be disappointed when they get in.
Yeah. And even then, you are a freelancer. So you can be in and you can be out like that. So why?
There's
Yeah.
no in.
All the writers die poor, so you have to understand that. So
I
yeah.
mean, we saw
Well, we
how
hope
Pet
not, but we
died.
know there's some truth to
Yeah, we
that.
hope that, but that is happening, and we have to understand also that and
Yeah.
how we can change that. And that also, I think that when I think of comics, I want to think of the arts. I don't want to think of the pop culture that is the search in comics. It's because this is the pop culture was sailed long time ago. Like the people that see the movies, or well, the Marvel movies, not necessarily read the comics. It's because they are right now a different kind of media, a different kind of stories, a different kind of things. And that is equally bit with all the franchise and other things that happen. Yes, the comics make better stories always. That's a fact. But not necessarily you will be like you have to know if you want to write superheroes or you want to write comics. That's two different things.
Hmm.
Because if you want to write the superheroes, you want to make pop culture. You can do pop culture in any other kind of art. You can do pop culture doing movies, doing music, doing books, doing audiobooks, doing a lot of things. But comics is a very interesting art by itself,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Well, comics are inherently limitless, right? Like
Exactly.
you're only limited by your imagination. So I love what you just said, and I I haven't read Before We Sail yet. I have to say, but I'm going to now, and I hope everyone listening gets out there and supports this book too. Um,
How about we let them give a pitch for the book,
yeah,
and then where they can find it, and where they can also find you guys on social media if you're
I
there
think
and
it's a great idea.
participate.
Wow. Okay. So I will write my name. How I can write my name here? I like. Okay. Uh, Carlos Jack Jack. Okay. So you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, fuck Elon Musk, and also and also Substract. I am Carlos. Jack Jack. You can find me by there. Why Jack Jack? By Jack 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 Jack. Main down. Where you from? Of the song of Kendrick Lamar. Mad City of the album Good Kid, Mad City. That are also
Nice.
the Jack 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 of Schoolboy Q. So yeah, Jack Jack Jack. Sometimes with two jacks, sometimes with three jacks. I don't know, but well, you can find me there. I posting a lot of interviews, a lot of reviews around the world. There are reviews from the US, from the UK, from France, from Argentina, from Spain. because Aces Weekly can be bought anywhere in the world. As long as you know English and you have internet, you can buy it. If you are seeing this live, you can buy it. And well, you will access to Aces Weekly site, searching Aces Weekly, like this one. Okay, Aces Weekly. Aces Weekly. I there says Aces Weekly, and well, you can buy the volume 75 right now. And even if you don't like my comic, in the volume 75 you have other 5 great titles. Great titles that are from teams around the world. You have teams from Chile, Argentina, France, Spain, Paraguay. It's like David Lloyd is traveling around the world and searching for talent. And where see his talents, he like you should make comics, make them now, and we are right now here. So yeah, please buy Aces Weekly. Is a subscription of $1 per week, so you can have 5 comics at the exchange of $7 because one volume have the duration of 7 weeks, 7 chapters. So yeah, that's it. And well, please buy Aces Weekly. It's curated by David Lloyd. So please buy Aces Weekly. Like what are you thinking? It's by David Lloyd. You have to make that.
I'm going to put the URL for Aces Weekly in the comments.
And I'll include a link in the when we turn this into an article for the site.
Yeah, most definitely.
Thank you so much.
Well, yeah, you bet, guys. Thank you for your time this evening. And
Thank you.
yeah, thank you for creating awesome art.
Well, I will try to make awesome art. I don't know if I achieve that, but I will more.
Listen, like I said at the
I
beginning,
will be
the
even
fact that
crazy.
you're making it makes it awesome. So don't ever lose that. Alberto, don't let him lose that. There you go. All right. Well, Chad, who do we have coming up next week?
Next week we have artist Richard Pace, who is known for Second Coming and other stuff, but he's currently running a campaign on Zoop for a collection of his artwork. So he's going to stop by and chat with us.
That's awesome. Can't wait. And we can't wait.
Is the second coming from Mark Russell?
From Ahoy, yes.
But yep.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah,
I will
you
see
bet.
that.
So the comic is Before We Sail. The creators are Carlos Yacolca and Alberto Rayo and more. Thank you, guys. The publisher, Aces Weekly, can be found online at acesweekly.co.uk. And it's run by David Lloyd, who created a little comic called V for Vendetta with Alan Moore some years ago. So, you might, this guy knows his stuff. He knows talent when he's sniffing it. So you guys might check it out. Thank you guys so much for stopping by and hanging out with us this evening. And we thank you all for listening. We will be back next week with Richard Pace. And until that time, just remember the world might be a cruel place sometimes, but it doesn't have to be. Get out there, support local art, support local creators, support local comic book shops, all that good stuff. And until next time, just don't. Oh, go ahead.
Right.
Support the comic journalist.
That's right.
All right. We'll see you guys.